About a month ago, a friend of mine named John, he's renovating a house in Knoxville, Tennessee, and he wanted to redesign a staircase leading into the basement. He was having some trouble. Part of that trouble had to do with the fact that there was a beam in the way, and we had to figure out a way to get rid of that. But other than that, John's challenge was laying out what are called stair stringers, which are the side pieces that actually hold the treads on a stair. And that's what this video is all about. I'm going to show you how to use a carpenter's square to lay out stair stringers. It's really pretty simple once you've seen the trick, plus a few additional things you need to know about how to handle the bottom of the stringers and the top of the stringers so that it all works out fine on the finished stair. So I've got a piece of wood here. We're actually going to lay it out as a stringer, even though it's shorter than it normally would be. But before I get to that, I want to show you a little diagram here. I just need to put the whole challenge into context. So we've got this is the second floor level here. This is the level that we want to be able to rise to as we come up the stairs. And this is the first floor level. And this is the stringer that we want to cut. Now, most stringers would be cut from 2x12 lumber. This is a 2x10 I have here. It's not going to matter at all for this tutorial, but the 2x12 size is necessary to give you the strength that you need. Essentially what we're looking at here is the piece of lumber that will support the treads, which would be a piece of wood kind of put on here. Those are the treads. And then the risers, which would just be a decorative piece right here. Actually, the tread is going to extend beyond the riser a little bit. So that's what this wood does. And our job here in laying out this piece of wood is twofold. First of all, we need to make these cutouts for the treads and risers in the right proportion and equal spacing to each other. That's where the carpenter's square is going to come in. Once we've done that, we also need to modify the stringer somewhat at the bottom and the top. See, what we want is we want an equal rise from one stair to the next. So rise is how much you rise when you step on the next stair up. So we want that to be the same all the way up. Now, when we're cutting a stair stringer, in all likelihood, it's going to be resting on some sort of a subfloor, maybe a basement floor, concrete floor, but it's almost never resting on a finished floor. So one thing to keep in mind, and I'll get to this later, is whatever finished floor is going to be applied later, the thickness of that floor needs to be added to the bottom end of the stringer so that this is equal to that, is equal to that. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Another thing has to do with the thickness of the stair treads itself. Typically 1.5 inches thick. So in order to get the rise figure here at the top stair equal to all the others, we need to shift the whole stringer down an amount equal to the thickness of the treads, so that this is equal to that, is equal to that, is equal to that in the finished stair. So just two little modifications to keep in mind. But before we get there, now it's time to use the carpenter's square to mark out those notches with precision. So this is the square that I'm going to be using to lay out the stringers. It's not a conventional carpenter's square, but it's going to work just as fine. It's the numbers that count, not the thickness of the blade. Now, my job here at this stage, your job at this stage actually, is to mark accurate and consistent rise and run figures on your wood. There's a little formula here that you might find useful. When you take a rise figure and you add to it one run figure, the sum should equal 17 or 18 inches. That will create a comfortable stair proportion underfoot. And notice something interesting. When using this method, when the rise figure becomes smaller, so you have a shallower stair, the run figure needs to become proportionally longer for that stair to feel comfortable underfoot. And the reverse is true as well. When the rise figure gets really high, the most comfortable orientation is to have a short run figure. So in John's case, we've determined that a comfortable geometry that's going to fit into his situation would be 7 3/4 inches of rise and 10 1/4 inches of run. So those two together equal 18. Now the trick is to create this geometry all along, one notch after another on this piece of wood. Now, you might be wondering how I came up with these numbers in the first place. I mean, it's one thing to have them add up to 17 or 18, but how did I determine 7 3/4 inches for the rise of each individual stairs? That takes a little bit of math, and I'll show you that now. A little bit of math and a little bit of trial and error. So I'm just going to draw this again. This is the floor, and this is the wall, and this is our finished floor. Now it is actually a finished floor that we want, or you account for the finished floor, because basically what we want to do is we want to figure out how many stairs, how many vertical rises of a stair can fit into the height we've got. So that's the height from here down to the floor, down to the finished floor on the first floor. Now I happen to know that in John's case, he's dealing with 105 inches of total rise. So, as you can imagine, we want all the stairs to be of equal height. We can't have 7.5 stairs. We want to have only full stairs. So that's where a little bit of trial and error math comes in. So 105 inches, let's just take a guess. Let's say, well, how does stairs with a 7-inch rise look? So divided by 7. Oh, look at that. That's not usual. We have a nice round number. So as it turns out, if we went with 15 stairs, then that would fit evenly into 105 inches. With the stringer, I should point out, this is the top of the stringer here, so I'll just draw a few notches here. I won't continue on this one. The top of the stringer stops here, so the finished floor of the second floor is actually considered to be one of the stairs for this calculation purpose. Stair number 1, stair number 2, stair number 3, and 105 inches work out to 15 exactly. As I said, that hardly ever happens. It's more like this. Let's say 105 total inches, and I'm thinking, oh, let's try a 7.5 inch divided by 7.5, 7.5 inch rise. It worked out again, 14 inches. As I said, it doesn't normally work out this way. So what you need to do is you need to say, oh, I can fit in 14.25 stairs, and I want 14, so I'm gonna juggle the rise figure so that it all works out. Basically, what is the rise figure that when applied to the total height difference between one floor and another will equal a perfectly even number of stairs? So the rise figure is the first thing you want to figure out. Whatever rise figure you work out, whatever one you determine, you plug it into the 17 or 18 inch formula, and you will get the run figure, which is the horizontal width of the stairs. Now, I should mention that when you're building stairs, the only given that you have is this, the only ironclad given that you have is the distance between one floor surface to another. And that's the one you want to have to work with. Whatever you work out here will ultimately determine how far out from this wall, in this case, the stair stringers go. So normally, it's not crucial. I mean, the stair could end here, it could end here, it could end here. Doesn't really matter. As long as the ratios are correct and I have an equal number of equally spaced stair risers, then everything's going to work out fine. In other words, the outward extent of the staircase is a function of what you do over here with total height and total rise figure. And then this is kind of a secondary thing that just comes out at the end. So that's how I determine what my rise figure is. And then now I'm finally going to show you how to translate that to actual wood. So you might be looking at this drawing and thinking, wow, all those dimensions, all those angles, there's an angle at the bottom, the angle for the stringer itself, the individual angles of the cutouts. I mean, there's a million ways to mess up on this, right? Well, there is, but there's also one way to sidestep all of those problems, and that's to use your square. So this is going to be my stringer, and remember I mentioned a 7 3/4 inch rise? Well, so 7, 7 1/4, 7 1/2, 7 3/4, and you notice that it is perfectly aligned with the edge of the wood. So that's what I want on that side. And then if we go to the other side, the run figure there was 10 1/4. So if you look here, 10 1/4, and trust me, it's perfectly lined up with the wood. So 7 3/4 on one side, 10 1/4 on the other, and that's my angle. So the notch I need to cut will look like this. So that's the first notch of my stairs. And all I have to do to mark the next notch is to find 10 1/4 again, and 7 3/4. I put the 10 1/4 right on the spot where the other pencil mark ended, and the 7 1/4 over here, and I draw it again. And then I just repeat the whole way up. Now, let's say you're the kind of person that likes little tools that make things easier and more precise. You might want something like this. And the way they work is they're little clamps. They clamp to the square so that automates the placement of the square from one tread to the next. I bought these from Lee Valley Tools, which is a great store. I've been buying things from them for 40 years, more than 40 years. And I still have all the stuff I've got from them. It's been well worth it. So there. Now, with this in place, I don't have to worry about lining up my eye or being careful or anything like that, because I just go and I position it again. These clamps rest against the wood, so it speeds the process a little bit. Absolutely ensures that it's going to be consistent from one to the next. So I've remarked this sample stringer with markers so you can see what it looks like more closely. And I want you to imagine for a moment that this is the bottom of the stair. So this would be the amount that you add for the decorative rise. Now I've left quite a bit there. Other carpenters might just put 1/4 inch veneered plywood. I like to work with solid wood, so I've put a solid wood amount there for us to see. And I mean, I haven't marked it yet, but the stair tread might go on here. It might be this thick or a little bit thicker, and it's going to extend out past the decorative rise part. But what you need to remember is at the bottom, as I said before, you have to make allowances for the finished floor, for the thickness of the finished floor. So if this is the thickness of the finished floor, that's the position of the finished floor there. I've just drawn it arbitrarily. And maybe these stairs go down into a basement, and they're going to fasten to a concrete floor. Well, that's going to be somewhat lower than the finished floor. So you need to extend the stringer to make allowances for that, because this is going to be the finished floor, and that's what works out in terms of geometry. But the stringer will actually be sitting on a floor that's below the finished floor. Another thing you need to be aware of is what's happening down here at the bottom, and this drawing here shows the bottom. This area of the drawing shows the bottom of the stringer. Now it's very important that this stringer be securely mounted. It can't move at all. Of course, you want your stairs to be solid. And one way to help with that is to notch out the bottom of the stringer right here so that it fits over maybe a 2x4. That 2x4 would be securely bonded to the floor underneath. So basically the stringer can't slide out because the notch fits over the 2x4, and that prevents the bottom end of the stringer from slipping out. So I would cut that detail right here. And let's say I'm making it for a 2x4. So a 2x4 is 3.5 inches long. And don't forget, this surface here is the one that I'm going to be making for the bottom of the stringer. So 2x4 is 1.5 inches wide. So I'm going to be cutting out this part of the stringer. I'm going to be removing all this wood so that I create the notch that will keep it secured at the bottom. I need to do something similar, almost a mirror image of that actually, at the top end too. Here at the top end of the stringer, we have to make an allowance for the thickness of the stair treads. So this is basically the top of the topmost stair in the stringer. It's not the floor, which as I said, is the floor surface is up here, and that's essentially kind of the final step. But right now, this surface here is that surface there. And since we want a consistent rise figure, we need to remember that there's going to be a stair tread on here, and you'll need to take that into account. And how you take it into account depends on the thickness and whether or not your measurements take you up to the level of the finished floor, as they should. But you may need to alter this position to preserve that all-important consistent rise figure. Now, in the same way that we want to secure the bottom in a way that can't move, we also want to secure the top of the stair in a way that can't move, so we want another notch. This time though, we want the notch here. So that notch will be big enough to accommodate a 2x4, and in this case the 2x4 would be fastened to whatever wall framing the stairs are resting against. And in practice, we would want to put the notch right here. So we're dealing with 3.5 inches. Actually, we don't need to we don't have the whole 3.5 inches in the stringer, because if we do, we don't really have a lot of wood up top there. Even a small notch, say a couple of inches wide, will do us just fine, and 1.5 inches in depth, because that's the thickness of a 2x4, and then we would cut this here. We could make this even smaller, actually. Looking at it right now, this seems a bit narrow here, a bit prone to breaking off, so maybe we would put it down here. The 2x4 would of course extend, looking at the diagram here, it would extend down below the stair stringer a little bit, but that's okay. As long as the stringer is resting on top of this, now not only can the bottom not slide out, but the top can't slide down. And with those two things together, you're going to have a very, very solid staircase. So right here, I would be cutting off this, of course. This is all waste, and then this is waste here too. And we would have this notch in the top. Now, cutting these things is always a two-part process. The first part involves cutting with a circular saw as far as you can, but of course it's a circular blade, so where the cut might continue right into the corner up here, down deeper where the saw blade is kind of curving away, you're still going to have some wood there. So it's a combination of using a power saw and then using a hand saw to finish that cut in the corner in a perfectly plumb way. You'd use that technique here, and you'd use that technique here when you're making the notch.